Sometimes it's hard to convince people of the need for environmental protection. But Muelo Musonko has come up with a unique way of making children and teens more aware of the dangers posed by climate change and the need for conserving the environment. He creates superhero comic books that address the topic. Muelo finds it worrying that most Zambians think that climate change is a problem affecting others. Our reporter met up with him in the German city of Berlin.
Some reason I don't know why people. Considering the fact that the reading culture where I'm from in Zambia is really bad, people just don't really read books. And so if you would give somebody a book with pictures in it, I think it sparks their interest. Trying to create value with this art. It's not just about entertainment alone, but where can you take people with this? The majority of Zambians think climate change is a foreign problem, you know. They really don't see that they get affected really easily when you talk about global warming. So I believe children are easily guided because, I mean, if you put something in a child, they're literally the next generation, and the future generations come after them. And that's why I feel like it's important to educate. And what better way than literature? I think a girl brings a different thing to the table. If you look at comic books, for example, you see that many superheroes are male, and this is conversations that keep going around even with creatives. Should we make more female characters? What does that mean? What does that stand for? And if you follow my comic book, you start to see that this character is not perfect. Her life is miserable. And she rises above all of that to save the world and fight climate change. Art is a perfect way of getting a message through. Art is big, it's diverse. It doesn't matter whether you make music, it doesn't matter whether you draw or make comics. What mouth? Mine? Jacket. So the idea is to visit these schools first, have simple questionnaires for the kids. After a few months, go back to the schools with questionnaires to see if the children actually learned about climate change. And outside just the questionnaires itself, I'm also creating stuff like challenges. For example, I have a plant a tree challenge. It's more or less just about a dialogue and being interactive. And the comic books are just supposed to help us get the dialogue running. And so there's going to be a whole lot more coming next. But I think people are already talking about it. People are receiving it warmly. They love it. And I believe it's going to grow bigger. This is my favorite page because,
In our next report, we'll hear about another way of getting young people interested in conservation. A school in Berlin has added biodiversity to its curriculum. What do you think they learned there, NT?
Well, Felicia, they're learning how species and habitats are endangered and what can be done to protect them. But they don't just talk about it in the biology class. The school finds ways to include aspects of biodiversity in every subject. It requires a lot of effort on the part of the teachers, the pupils, and the parents. Hopefully, it would inspire others to do the same.
Summer vacation is over. It's back to school. The first lesson is taking place out in the school garden. For these Berlin students, spades and pruning shears are as important for school as books and pens.
Other schools might do other kinds of things, but here we've got our garden and the farm and the animals. It's really something special.
Plants and animals are an integral part of their education. Here the kids learn how an ecosystem functions. The garden waste lands next door at the school's farmyard. The farm has a number of residents, including ducks, pigs, and chickens. Then there's Liesel the mule and Charlotta the pony. They graze in the school's former sports field. Their dung lands on a compost heap and becomes the fertilizer that can be used for the next generation of plants. The school is gradually becoming surrounded with greenery. The main building is pretty bare outside. The playground out front as well, but not for much longer. The concrete is about to be turned into a bed of reeds, like this part of the grounds. The green ideas are all part of a conscious move by the school to encourage biological diversity. When Germany launched the National Strategy on Biological Diversity back in 2007, the school's teachers got together and thought about ways to anchor the idea in lessons. Biological diversity now has a fixed place in the curriculum.
We teach the same subjects as other schools. We have art, physics, sports, foreign languages. But we've also incorporated biological diversity into the school curriculum. And as far as I know, we're the only school in Germany that does that. The staff sat down and thought about what we'd need to do, about the current situation in society, and what we want to teach our students. And they came up with their own curriculum.
In the economics, work, and technology class, students build wooden frames for the raised garden beds. In math, they measure and plan the beds. They also grow specific plants that can be used in chemistry lessons. And they learn how to turn some of the things they grow into products like herb vinegar or jam. But it's not just about practical skills. They also learn about the advantages of diversity. Take the Three Sisters, for instance. That's the traditional name given to a mixed bed of squash, corn, and climbing beans. The plants are grown together because they complement each other so well.
The students get to see how planting a mixture of crops is much better for the environment and is also good for a healthy, balanced diet. And then they begin to understand that the farming sector generally needs to move away from the extreme forms of monoculture we've seen and begin growing a wider crop mix.
Before everyone goes home, the goats have to be fed. There are keepers who tend to the animals, but the students like to do it themselves if they're able. And here, biological diversity is a year-round subject.
In winter, we're mostly indoors, in the workshop. This year, we built a beehive and an insect hotel. And there's always stuff to do, like clearing out the animal boxes, cleaning the yard, giving the animals straw and hay. It's definitely more fun than sitting behind a desk in class.
The ducks and chickens would agree. The students and teachers are proud that their unique lesson plan has won them international recognition, and they're now an officially designated European Eco School.
From school kids striving to protect the environment in Germany to a young student in Tanzania, Cecil Sagawala was so fed up with used clothing that he developed a new business model. He gives second-hand clothes as a second life by turning them into completely new items, and he's certainly doing his bit for the environment.
In Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, up to 10 million tons of textiles are thrown away annually. The textiles are dumped in landfills, meaning they can harm the environment. That's because many clothes are produced with toxic chemicals. Cecil Sagawala collects used clothes from his neighborhood. His Tanzanian company Remedy recycles used textiles. His team produces bags, tissue holders, and jackets. And to give the products a colorful look, they add local Kitenge textiles. The 21-year-old entrepreneur employs 5 tailors. His aim is to have each of them make 50 bags a week. Bags cost between 9 and 11 euros. Cecil wants to reshape the textile industry in Tanzania.
Do you like that? If you are also doing your bit, tell us about it. Visit our website or send us a tweet. #DoingYourBit. We share your stories.